This is Judge Herb Dodell. You know, we recently did a YouTube and I said something that I wanted to change. So I used a legal term, which is basically motion to strike or strike that. I decided, most of the people who are listening to our show or who are looking at these YouTubes hear these terms all the time and they don't know what they mean. For example, I'll give you some common terms today and tell you briefly what they mean. So we'll start off with strike that, which is what I said last week or recently. That means to take it out of the record, forget about it like it never happened. The problem with that term is when you strike it in front of the jury, you now have basically emphasized it. It's hard to unring the bell, and that's exactly what happens. But I've used the words sustain and overrule. What does that really mean? Well, simply speaking, if one party offers a piece of evidence and the other side objects to that evidence, because all cases can only be decided based on admissible evidence. In other words, if something is stricken from the record, it's no longer admissible record, and therefore it cannot support a decision in and of itself. So sustaining means that the court agrees with the objection, and whatever it was that was offered is not accepted into evidence. And one of the important things about making objections is that you have to do it during the course of the actual proceeding, because if you don't, it's not preserved for an appeal. If it's not objected to, it's considered waived. So a sustaining of an objection can be a very important consideration. Overruling an objection. That means that the judge says the objection is not sufficient enough to sustain it and to keep it out so it gets in. One of the real risks in trial work is if you object too often and they end up getting overruled on a frequent basis, you don't look good. And it also emphasizes something that you really want to de-emphasize. So that's the difference between sustaining and overruling. Now there's also something called a demur. A demur can be in a civil or a criminal case, and it basically attacks the complaint or the information in a criminal case and says that even if everything was true and for all purposes they are deemed to be true for this particular type of proceeding, even though it may not be true or would not be proven at the end of the day. And so the demur attacks the complaint or the information, and if the demur is overruled, it means that the objection is not sufficient to change anything. If it's sustained, it can be sustained with leave or without leave. With leave means you can amend, or it's without leave to amend. If it is with leave to amend, then you can change things and you can fix it. And in my book, From the Trench to the Bench, Navigating the Legal System and Finding Your Spiritual Path Along the Way, I talk about the strategies, why you would do things and why you would not do things during the course of a trial. And part of it deals with objections, part of it deals with amendments, part of it deals with appeals once you feel you've gotten a wrong ruling. So there's a language that only the lawyers use. Now you know what at least some of the terms are, and from time to time when it comes up, I'm going to give you a definition of a particular term when we use it. When we talk about bankruptcy, I'll give you some bankruptcy terms. When we talk about real estate issues, I'll give you some real estate terms. When we talk about personal injury, we'll talk about personal injury terms. So hopefully you'll all get smarter and wiser, and certainly more informed as you listen to the show. Again, it is judgeherbdodell.us, and just click the index. I'm trying to catch up, by the way. I'm a little late on some of the recent shows, but the first 30 or so have a description in an index. So I encourage you to listen to the show. You're going to learn a lot.